Because they have two shifts. I do see a lot of appreciation here. That works. Do you know how hard I worked for this? Like one entire month last year was spent on that. No, I'm just kidding. I actually just found them on the internet, but I'm happy that it works. Okay, moving on. Okay, chocolate. Chocolate works. That's better because, we still have people coming in. So Steve, would you like to join me in throwing chocolate at people? Oh, okay. Okay, I get that. That's fine. Okay, well, I'll probably throw in my talk. Anybody wants to attend my talk, by the way? I'm going to give a talk a little bit later as well. Oh, wow, I get the applause for that. That's surprising. Okay, so in the back there, all the way in, all the way. Pretty good, right? Not bad. Okay, anybody else? Oh, well, almost, close enough. Okay, two more. Oh, I have like a little arm thing going on now. Oh, okay, anybody else? Close, close. And finally, the last one goes to, I feel like Eurovision all over again. Pretty good. Okay, that makes me happy. All right, so we've been throwing chocolates. Let's throw some thinking into complex systems as well. Did you see that? Okay, I worked on this so hard. So, Shoval, are you around? Yes? Yeah, come on stage. Hey, hello, Shoval. All good? Everything works? Excellent. Now, Shoval is a product designer based here in Tel Aviv. You traveled all the way from Tel Aviv to be here today.
Actually, from Haifa.
From Haifa.
Like, I'm based in Tel Aviv.
Oh,
my office is in Tel Aviv, but I live in Haifa.
Oh, anybody from Haifa?
Haifa.
Yes, excellent, excellent.
There is a world outside of Tel Aviv, if you didn't know.
I mean, I actually traveled a lot yesterday in north of Israel as well. I went to Haifa.
I live next to a place. It's very interesting. It's called Bat Galim, if you don't know about it. And you can just put on a snorkel and go not that far from the shore, and you'll see amazing big turtles and catfish. And I really recommend.
I like turtles.
Do that.
No, okay. So Shoval is designing for developer experience, self-taught UX designer and developer. Yes. Also has an international background. Before delving into UX, you studied film and animation and art in Israel. Yes. That's exciting. And you have your you have your artwork exhibited. You used to have.
I used to.
Artwork exhibited at the MoMA in San Francisco.
Yes, yes. Video art. Yeah.
That's excellent, exciting. And here we go. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
And
you make me feel good about myself.
Yes, and this is something I really have to ask you about. You like talking to strangers.
Yes. I love talking to strangers.
And I think you even have, you're going to Finland, and you make it a regular thing. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. So some of my best friends, actually, I met in the places that you don't get to know people. And one of them I met in a marketplace in Haifa called Vadinisnas. And she's American. She came as a tourist, and we became really good friends. And I found myself, because of that friendship, traveling to Finland every year to a remote farm, meeting other friends that I met through her, and looking at the midnight sun.
Oh, that's exciting. I think this is going to be a very inspiring session in many ways. So in this way, please, again, round of applause to Shoval speaking on designing for complex systems.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm sorry about this huge picture of me. I didn't know it's going to be that big. Very nice to meet you. My name is Shoval Zohar. I'm a product designer at Wix Code. I've been designing and coding for more than 10 years. And my focus is complex apps. And more than all, I'm a human, as you heard, and animal lover too, as you can see. That's my dog, Mika, by the way. And today I'm going to talk to you about finding your ways around complex systems. So, 2 years ago was my first day at Wix, and I was very excited, and I knew two things about Wix. The first thing, that Wix is a website builder, one of the most popular ones. And the second, that I'll be working in a company called Wix Code, which allows users to write code on Wix to customize their websites. But a little bit, pretty quickly, it turned out that Wix is a bit more complicated than a website builder. It has more than 40 companies and a huge amount of products that are interconnecting. And that I work here in Wix Code. Okay, it works. And it turned out that Wix Code also have many components with scary names. And Wix Code at itself is a complex system serving developers. Now, those diagrams are actually incomplete view because if I would like to have a more detailed view of what Wix or Wix Code is, it will take me probably a few years to find out. And by the time that I will, Wix will already change because, like organisms, complex systems are ever changing and ever evolving. And that's why they're so hard to grasp. But let's stop for a second and ask what complex systems are. So, this is very, very like a general sentence. Complex system is complicated, but a complex system is composed of many components that interact with each other. And as we saw before, when we looked at Wix Code, when we zoomed in, those components can be complex by themselves. But the most important thing to know that complex systems are all around us all the time. And so, Earth is a complex system. And it consists of many ecological systems that have many components. And one of us is us, humans. Human society is a complex system too. And we humans also built our own complex systems. Like cities, which also consist of other systems. Education system, health system, and more. But, as we know, our world is not only physical, and we have complex systems also in the digital world. Like the program that this laboratory is working on in the hospital. And complex apps are the manifestation of complex systems in the digital sphere. There are two types of apps. Generalist app, with linear flow around structured goals, and complex apps that have nonlinear flow around unstructured goals. Now, generalist app, or if you want, we can call it simple app, has linear flow. An example for generalist app would be a task app. So, flow is linear, A to B. You write down a task, you mark it down. An example for complex system would be Wix. It's a platform that you can use to build any type of business or other goal you need a website for. May it be a bookstore, a startup, enterprise business, and like a city that have different businesses and different roles operating those. In Wix, we also have a variety of users to achieve those different goals. And our challenge, the designers in Wix, is to make sure each one of those users can easily complete their tasks. May it be designing, managing their business, developing, writing code, or advanced monitoring their site performance. So, in order to help all those users to achieve their goals, we, the designers, need first to learn those systems. And back to me. I started to work at Wix and had to quickly get into business. And I had not only to know those components, but how they interconnect with each other. So I want to tell you about my journey doing this. So, as I said before, I was very excited about the opportunity to start to work at Wix. And also for the opportunity to start to work on a new project. And I was invited to a meeting to discuss this project that is dealing with code monitoring. Now, I used to be a coder, and I felt that pretty sure that I can quickly get into business. And I also just came out from working for a very complex app, cybersecurity for enterprises in Microsoft, which I was pretty sure after that I can handle any complexity. I entered a beautiful meeting room with a sea view, and everyone looked super chilled and welcoming. And then the head of Wix Code started to talk. And and all I hear is gibberish. Server containers, pods, request durations. I really had no idea what he was talking about. So I got out of this meeting with all my self-confidence and years of experience just fading away. But I calmed myself down and told myself, you're a great self-learner. You can do it. So for the next meeting, I came with a notebook and I wrote down all the gibberish terms. And Google became my best friend. After a few meetings, it turned into this. The notebook filled with all those server terms. Now, each one it is really quite hard to learn by itself. And I look at this list, and I think about the deadline for the ideation, for the design ideation, and I tell myself, there is no chance I'm going to make it. Now, I know how to research, right? I know how to look at competitors, talk to users, look for the relevant data, do synthesis, but still, I can't use those tools because I don't have any clue where to start. And that's when my imposter syndrome kicks in. And I start to question myself and wonder whether it was just a lucky coincidence I was taken to this job and I'm not that professional like I thought. And one of the symptoms of this syndrome is that you start to smile and nod and look for ways to at least look like you know what people are talking about around you. You pretend. So, being in this pretender mode, I started to pick up the most trending terms in meetings, the ones that are repeated or at least spoken passionately about, and decided to focus on them. And forget Google is my friend. I needed real friends because I need to understand these terms quickly and in the context of the company. And I thought, who can I talk to? And I thought about those three. Moshe, the head of the R&D and the R&D at Velo Platform, extremely smart person, but very funny too. Dima, a development team lead, super talented, and was making sure I was feeling at home from the first day I came to Wix Code. And Paulina, the PM, a brilliant person I had really connected with from the first time that we met. Now, those three are all experts, like really experts in their field, but more than that, they are very nice and fun people. So I felt comfortable to get over my fear of asking stupid questions. And I did ask them stupid questions. And they gave hours of their time over coffee or in front of their screens. They corrected me when I was wrong. And that actually started to be fun. And then Paulina, the PM, said that I'm ready for my first user interview. And she scheduled an interview with an expert engineer, with a backend engineer with like decades of experience. And I started to doubt if it was a good idea. I was really scared that when I talked to him, he would realize I don't understand anything that he says, and maybe he himself will think Wix hired an imposter. But interesting enough, as our interview developed, I found out that I know solid conversational gibberish, server gibberish. Now, I wasn't pretending. I actually understood him. And apparently I could even understand his server jokes. I came out of this meeting understanding what is the next thing I need to research. And from there, the learning curve escalated. And it never ends because complex systems are so interesting that you can never learn them all. So, looking at my process, learning complex system, it seems like there was a repeating pattern. Every time, it's the same almost. I come with a certain level of knowledge, not that much, but then I realized I know much less than I thought, and I get overwhelmed. Then I think, okay, I can learn it. Then I get overwhelmed, freaking out, and my imposter syndrome comes out. But that's where the magic happens. That's where you can see the learning curve just peaks. And I noticed that this process is very similar to how children learn about the complexity of our world. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I've been observing her, how she makes sense of the world around her. And it all starts with a gaze. When she's in a new place, she's just taking it all in without trying to figure it out. At her first visit at the doctor, she was very curious about everything. All the objects, the words the doctors say, the patients waiting. At her second visit, she already started to pick up certain terms and gestures out of the many new things she was exposed to. Now, it seems very similar to the way I was picking up repeating terms. And those things she picked up were the ones she needed in order to pretend that she knows how to be a doctor. She learned how to say stethoscope, open your mouth for a throat check, and gave a sticker at the end to the patient. Now, since this picture was taken, my daughter actually leveled up her doctor practice. She played with an older girl that taught her not to inject into the doll's eyes, but her arm. And she went back to another doctor visit and learned how to wear the stethoscope like a pro. So, her learning process is a process of iteration, observing, detecting repeated patterns, playing with those patterns, and then learning and getting better. And she repeats this process, adding more and more levels of complexity in her game every time, and slowly figuring out the complexity of our world. I believe that the way we learn complex systems is very similar to how children do. The only difference is that children come with playfulness and curiosity into this process, and we come with shame. We call it an imposter syndrome. And a very smart man named Aristo said that the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And that means that in order to be an expert, you need to acknowledge that you don't know everything and feel okay about it and open yourself to learn new things. Now, there is a common belief that in order to design for complex systems, you need to be an expert. And I think this perception can block our natural ability to learn. From my experience, I think there are ways to evoke the natural learning skills we all have. And my advice is, first, feel great about not knowing, like a child. No shame, no trying to figure it all out. Just let yourself be curious and absorb. I actually think not knowing is the fun part. And I personally got addicted getting into systems I have no clue about. It offers valuable opportunities to learn interesting fields that otherwise I would not have the chance. Second, pick up the repeating patterns in meetings and conversations. This will allow you to prioritize what you need to first know in order to get into the process of learning the system. Systems are huge. We need to start from somewhere. And this will also allow you to learn in small but meaningful chunks. And if you're still not sure where to start with, you can ask yourself this controversial question. If I was to pretend, which terms would I learn first? That will actually get you into really knowing. And this is a crucial step. Finding your mentors, like my friends. Your mentors are your self-learning environment. They are your playmates, your playground, and your school. Find not only the people that knows more than you do, but also people that are humble and allow you to ask questions and make mistakes without feeling insecure. And last, don't be afraid to jump into the deep waters. Try the new terms you learned in meetings and user talks. Use pen and paper and try to create a messy mind map using these terms. Do they connect? Is something missing? The missing part of the map or the mistakes you make when you talk in meetings are exactly what you need in order to progress. Complex systems are everywhere, from our family system to the society we live in, to the technology we use to work. And as the world becomes more technological and digitized, more complex apps would find their ways into our lives. So I believe that more and more product designers will face the challenge of designing for complex systems. And today, every time I'm facing this challenge, I remind myself to approach it like a child. Enjoy curiosity and play. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Please join me in this discussion because I
Should
like
I take
complex
this
systems.
Or
We can do it later, but I think I'm supposed to be sitting here
okay.
for reasons so you can, you can make wonderful pictures of yourself. So I like complex systems, and I think I can only agree with things that you said. I think one really interesting thing for me, and maybe please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in those complex environments, it's very common that we think that we kind of need to skip discovery, let's just get to the meat. And I think that if you don't understand the problem, how can you even design for it, right? But anybody been in the situation where it's like, user research, discovery, we're wasting, that would be the word used, too much time and effort? Anybody was in this position? Okay, it's a safe place to raise hands like this, I think. But this is always, there is no shortcut. So how would you argue, or how would you deal with situations where you just don't get this buy-in to do discovery, proper discovery and research? I mean, that probably was not the case for you, I guess.
That I don't have the time to do that.
Or you're not given the green light.
Oh, I will argue about that. I will, and I did actually a few
Right.
times, because for me the research, you cannot understand the problem without
Yeah.
understanding what you're looking at. And when you come to a complex system, and mostly there are some designers that always work at the same domains, so they're familiar. I actually more interested in the different domains, and you don't have, it's like asking you to become a doctor without knowing, without learning
Anything about, like,
so you
medical,
need
yeah.
to learn it like your apprentice almost, in a very shallow maybe way of knowledge, but you have to grasp something because you'll be just confused.
Yeah, so without discovery, it's very difficult to get anything done, like meaningful. But then the other thing is that very often in those kind of environments, at least this is kind of my experience, it might be a bit different for you, I realize that most issues are not coming from this legacy systems or technical limitations or features that we need to build or anything like that. It's mostly people problems. It's the collaboration, it's the communication, it's people not really aligned, things kind of getting in a position where some things are not done well, just because different departments don't really talk well or enough, I guess, with each other. So, how would you even deal with this kind of complexity? So, for example, at Wix, do you have any kind of established collaboration, communication channels? How do you streamline that?
So first, I want to say that I didn't talk about this in the presentation, but I think a lot of times the issue with the complex system, the challenge is also, I don't know if it's communication, but more that complex apps are evolving in different pace than real world systems, like institutions that took generations to evolve. complex apps evolve in a matter of months. And because of that, sometimes we feel like we're chasing our own tail. And features are getting like all the time, like it feels like the engineers are and the product is teams are pushing to get feature out before you really get to fix problems. And we are in Wix code especially, we are always talking about this. Like we always raise this concern and we have a discussion between like the product and the UX in Wix code actually works. One of the places that I thought saw like the most amazing sync between those two parts of the product. And we are acknowledge that and we try to mediate between those two needs.
Right. And I think it's also just a matter of, I don't know, sometimes you just don't know. Like nobody really knows how the entire system works. It's like maybe there is a senior staff, whatever, engineer who has an understanding of this is how it's done because of, you know, legacy issues or whatever. But very often what I experience is nobody really knows everything. And so you kind of jump and hop from one department to another. You find one person, then that person maybe knows another person who might know. And then it's like a puzzle.
Exactly.
So I think without discovery, it's just impossible to get that puzzle. And you know, for a long time, I was thinking that actually one of the cool things that I should be doing when I was growing up is actually jumping, like being in sort of an agency or outsourced company, because then I would learn from different domains, right? And now, knowing that you like talking to strangers, that's probably not a problem for you to talk to a person from that domain and so on and just keep going, right? But do you find do you have like a strategy, like because you're a self-learner, right? How do you start, let's say, getting a good understanding about a topic that is not familiar to you at all? You just go, you just learn, you just read, you just...
No, as I said, first of all, because I'm a self-learn, I have this always, also this imposter syndrome is very magnified, but the other thing is that I think is advantage, I'm very tuned into my natural ability to learn. So I do look for the repeated, like I know that I need to prioritize. It's all about prioritize because complex system is built upon a lot of layers of complexity. And I look for the repeated terms, at least in the first meetings. And I know that I'm not gonna get it all, but I'm patient. And I'm very thrilled when I do get a small chunk of understanding of
right.
a specific area.
Right. Two questions that came up now. Thank you so much for bringing up your questions, by the way. How do you start a complex system screen from scratch when there are so many components to consider?
So, how do I start a First of all, I never, like Scratch is, even if you start a screen from scratch, it's never from scratch, right? There are a lot of other services and features that are connected, and sometimes it's a missing piece in the product that the users are missing, or missing piece in the business to really allow more business needs to be fulfilled. And I just go for the specific area, but I consider where it's evolving from. Why is this screen is needed? What is the problem? Its answers. And that way, the best way to do it is through user talks, actually. Because my product team like the PM might tell me certain bullets of why we do that, but sometimes they even don't know the whole reason. And when we learn the reason, then we can start to really understand the problem and design.
Makes sense. Oh, here's an interesting one. Do you think that designers should be familiar with all technical side, like know all gibberish words of the product to bring the best solution?
No. No way, that's what I was trying to say. When you try to do that, you just get insecure. There is no way. None of those experts that I show know, like probably they know maybe 10% of the system. And the way that we learn, we talk to other people that knows other parts. And a part of learning a system is also learning your workplace and the people around and who knows what and who you can communicate with freely, and that's the way you learn.
So how is the server gibberish now? Do you feel like...
It's great. I feel so, I love it. I
So-
feel
so
so
you go-
like techie when I...
Yeah, so you go to DevOps parties and meetups and like, I
No,
will show
yeah.
you some Kubernetes now.
Oh, wow. I would love to do that. I would love to do that. But yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay, well-
It's a never-ending process.
Yes, especially obviously in complex environments. So thank you so much
Yes.
for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.